Hey fight fans, I'm Sarah Davis and you're watching Fight News Now Extra. Rumors, injuries, and fight announcements, they're all coming up next in our Newsmakers. John Pollock and John Ramdeen will join us in just a moment to pick it all apart. So let's get to the latest MMA headlines. There's been no shortage of injuries in the UFC this year, and Forrest Griffin is the latest victim. He's had to pull out of UFC 155, the year-end show, with a knee injury, and there's no word yet on who will replace him against Phil Davis. Sounds like Christian Cyborg Santos is coming around to the idea of cutting down to 135 to face Ronda Rousey. An announcement for a match between the two for UFC 157 was announced on the UFC's Portuguese website, but Cyborg said it was untrue and that she'll be able to make weight at 135 if she has enough time to prepare. Strikeforce's lightweight champion Gilbert Melendez is in negotiations with the UFC and is considering dropping down to featherweight. That's only if his teammate Nate Diaz wins the lightweight belt this weekend against champion Ben Henderson. And Renan Barão will be putting the interim bantamweight belt on the line in February. It's just been announced that he'll take on Mike MacDonald when they headline UFC on Fuel TV 7 at Wembley Arena in London, England. This will be Barão's first title defense, while Dominic Cruz is out recovering from a second knee surgery. That's the latest coming out of the MMA world. Let's take it over to our MMA panel. John Pollock, John Ramdeen, and guys, Cyborg is finally saying that she will drop down to 135 as long as she has enough time.
Of course she is, because there's no job unless she moves down to 135 pounds. There's one weight division for this woman, so it's either you make this weight or you go fight for Invicta.
Incorrect. Just like a few months ago, there was no weight divisions for any women until Ronda Rousey came along. I think Chris Cyborg just has to hold out and just maybe get a couple of more fights, because you need more than just Ronda Rousey.
There's no one at 145 they're bringing in. They're just not going to
There's
expand.
a thing called the world, and all you have to do is scour the world to find the best people available. That's what you have to do. And Cyborg is a proven talent. As long as the UFC gets behind this girl, I think she will have a huge following. She's a murderer, and I think fans are going to get behind that.
They want Cyborg for one fight. They want her to fight Ronda Rousey. That is the fight people want to see. They're not going to build a division around Chris Cyborg at 145. Look how many divisions they've added, and none of them have really taken off right now. You're going to add another women's division?
Of course, just everything takes time.
Ramdeen, true or false, they are creating this women's division because of one woman in Ronda Rousey.
What happens if she loses?
If she loses,
they get rid of the division?
That's a risk. That's a risk they take. If this does not draw well, it probably isn't going to last more than a year.
It's just like the flyweights and the 135-pound class, and for the most part, the 145-pound class. You just need depth, and the way to get depth is to take your time and try to create as many stars as possible. To say that Ronda Rousey is the only star at 135 pounds is simply preposterous.
Right now? You're kidding me? Who's the other star at 135?
Right now, that's all they're focused on. But all they have to do is continue to build up girls like Miesha Tate, Sarah Kaufman, Sarah McCann. There's so many girls that can compete. We're just buying into the hype. What happens when one of these girls takes Ronda Rousey out, then what?
Hey, listen, losses do not kill people in mixed martial arts. I think that's extremely overblown of what a loss can do to someone's career. Such is the case as BJ Penn, who has won one fight at 170 pounds in his last 6 at welterweight. He will try against Rory MacDonald this coming Saturday night. You spoke to BJ Penn. How is he feeling just a few hours away from weigh-in time and heading into what I think is a pivotal fight in both men's careers?
Well, for BJ Penn, he's so confident because of his experience. He's faced some of the best fighters in the world, and I think that's what it's going to come down to. You talk about a couple of bad performances, and people really don't consider you to be one of the best, and that's the case with BJ Penn right now. They've seen that over his last 5 fights, he's only had 1 victory, and they say he's washed up, he can't compete. But when you look at Rory MacDonald, his 2 highest profile fights, Carlos Condit and Nathan Diaz, well, he got stopped by Carlos Condit, and he went 3 rounds with a guy who's fighting for the lightweight title. Rory MacDonald walks around probably close to 200 pounds.
In fairness, I think everyone had Rory winning that fight with Condit until he was able to stop Rory. Had that fight gone 7 seconds longer, I think a different guy wins that fight.
The unfortunate thing is just people don't know what they're talking about, because if they go back and watch that first round with Rory and Carlos Condit, they will see that Carlos Condit actually won that first round. And I think that a lot of people are buying into the Rory hype, and I think Rory's a talented guy. And we know that he's going to make a huge impact. We heard it from George, we heard it from Firas, and Mike Ricci and all of his training partners. But until you get in there and compete with the best, I mean, look at some of Rory's opponents, Mike Pyle, Che Mills.
This is a giant jump up.
No
one's disputing that.
And I think a lot of people are really counting BJ Penn out. And this guy has really taken this fight very seriously. I still think that Rory does have an edge just because of his youth and how dangerous he is, but we can't count out BJ Penn.
What's your pick? You were just like all over the place here of who's going to win this fight. I am putting you on the hot seat right now.
The fact is, picks are idiotic. We were saying, well, who's going to win? I don't have a crystal ball. We don't know.
Just guess.
I'm going to try to guess, and it comes down to the fact that youth and size and power, and that's why I'm giving the edge to Rory MacDonald. But all it takes is one perfectly placed punch from BJ Penn to the face of Rory MacDonald. If he falls down to the ground, he's facing one of the best submission fighters in the world. That's why I give BJ Penn a chance in this fight.
He's going with BJ. I'm going with Rory. Break this tie,
I
Sarah
got
Davis.
Armac all the way.
There you go.
Thanks,
we know
guys.
what we're talking about.
So Samsung hooked us up with the new Rugby LTE. It's as smart as it is tough, and it's loaded with all kinds of cool features. So we've got the Fight Network app on here, and it's available on all Android phones. And of course, with the holidays just around the corner, it makes for a pretty nice gift. I know, I'd like it. So make sure you download the Fight Network app, and you can look up all the articles. We've even got videos on here. Not bad. All right, so coming up next, we're setting you up for UFC on Fox 5.